this crazy world, it's so hard to unwind. So I'm taking time just for me. Gonna find my peace, let my soul be free. In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe and leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care family and friends. Welcome back for another Room to Breathe podcast. I am your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so happy that you've made space to be here with us today. Now, before we get into this episode, do me a quick favor. If you're feeling the vibes, go ahead and show some love. Tap the screen, like, comment, but most importantly, be sure to share this out with someone who may need a little healing energy today. And if this is your first time here, or you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit that follow button. Subscribe to our channel so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally invite you to check out our digital home at theselfcareclub.org, where you will find everything from affirmative apparel to motivational merch, as well as a ton of free resources to help nourish your growth and support you on your journey. Just know that you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So today, I encourage you to give yourself permission to pause, to reflect, and to make space for peace, for growth, but most importantly for you. And if anything in today's episode hits home, be sure to drop a green heart in the chat. That is our community's way of saying I am healing, I am growing, and I am showing up for me. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Before we dive in, I do want to offer a very important trigger warning. Today's conversation includes discussions around domestic violence, physical assault, and emotional abuse. If at any point you need to pause, take a breath, or step away, please honor that. Your peace and safety come first. Now, if you're still with me, I just want you to settle in for a moment. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And I wanted to do that because, again, this episode is heavy, but it's also holy. It is a reminder that even when life tries to break you, God can still build something beautiful out of the pieces. Today, we are joined by a woman whose story will move your spirit and stir your soul. Her name is I'Kea Horton. She is a mother, a social worker, and a survivor whose faith carried her through one of the darkest chapters in her life. In July of 2024, I'Kea faced unimaginable circumstances where she was brutally attacked by her child's father and just left fighting for her life. But by the grace of God, she survived. And not only did she survive, but she's now using her voice and her platform to help others do the same. I believe that I'Kea's story is one of faith, obedience, and rebirth. It's about breaking generational cycles, healing out loud, and raising her children in the peace that she's fought so hard to find. She is proof that what was meant to destroy you can become the very thing that develops you. So family, please help me welcome I'Kea Horton into the Room to Breathe. Hey, Queen.
Hey, Queen.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm just feeling blessed and grateful and just happy to be here.
Yes, we are so happy to have you here. And here at the Room to Breathe, we love to start things off by doing a check-in with the soul. So I'm going to ask you, how's your spirit doing today?
My spirit is honestly feeling so excited. I have overcome so much, honestly. 2025 was a year of just pressure, okay? Like diamonds under pressure, okay? When you are in it, it's tough. But once you come out of it and you step back and you look at the beauty that a diamond is, like, you understand why it had to go through so much pressure. So, like, the year's been tough, but my spirit and my soul is literally in a place of just peace and gratitude. Like, I'm excited for what's to come.
Absolutely. So I guess let's start at the beginning. And when I say the beginning, I want to know, who was I'Kea before the pain, right? Before
Yeah,
everything started happening, that young girl growing up, dreaming and figuring out who she was before life got heavy.
I love that question. And it really just takes me back to my childhood. Like, IKEA before the pain and the trauma and everything else. I actually was a step captain for 4 years while I was in high school. I was on the dance team. I was the writing tutor for my high school. I did so many different things, and I actually found out that I wanted to be a social worker at the age of 15 um, due to something, an encounter that I had. I met my first social worker, and she literally transformed my life. It was just like I felt God speaking to me, like, this is what you're going to do. And I knew in that moment, like, I wanted to help other people. And from there, like, my focus was just on school. Like, I went to undergrad to pursue my BSW in social work. And then while I was there, I also decided that I wanted to pick up sociology and women's studies. So I was a triple major. I held down two jobs the whole time. Like, I was literally just like head down and focused. I had dreams to open a nonprofit, and I still will. And it's just insane to me the way God works, because during my time at the Child Abuse Center, which I interned at in college and during undergrad, one of my mentors, she was just like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was just like, "You know what? I really want to help domestic violence survivors." Why? Don't have a clue. Nobody in my family has survived domestic violence. Nobody close to me. It just, God just put it on my heart, and I did a domestic violence makeover event for people in my city, where I had different hairstylists, makeup artists, and just people who provided services come out to provide services to domestic violence survivors. Because what better way to start a new life than with a new look? And that was the way that I branded it. And since then, I've had a passion for helping survivors. So before all the trauma and before all the baggage entered my life, I had a calling on my life to help other people, especially women and survivors. So that is IKEA before the trauma, um, or bound up in one, I think.
Yeah. And so I know that you've talked about, previously you've talked about being sheltered,
Hmm.
and learning to perform early, which is
Yeah.
something that I think that a lot of women can, resonate with, because a lot of times we are conditioned at an early age to perform for love or to make you feel worthy and things like that. And so you mentioned how that shaped how you loved. And I think that that kind of takes us into this next part of the story, because those early love lessons, quote unquote, kind of shape how we pick our partners and how we choose people. And so I believe that you met him when you were just 13.
Yes.
um yeah, so in the beginning, what did that relationship feel like, and what made it so easy for to mistake maybe control for care?
So, in the beginning, like you said, like, I did not have, I was the only girl of my mom's kids. So that just meant that she was very overprotective. And I was very rebellious, because to me, the overprotection just felt like control. It felt like she just wanted, me to do what she wanted me to do. And as an adult with my own children, like, I understand that more, but also, um, to me at the time, I just felt like I didn't really have like a relationship with my mom. Like, I knew that she loved me, she took care of me. Like, but it never was something that was said aloud multiple times, or even like we didn't have like a close relationship, if that makes sense. So I just always felt like I was just longing for like some type of understanding and some type of love that wasn't conditional, that wasn't based off of my performance, because everything with my parents was beautiful and wonderful so long as I was performing, so long as I was getting the good grades, so long as I wasn't doing anything to embarrass them, so long as I was, just being a good, quiet girl with her head down. Then, I was loved and everything was fine and wonderful. And so, like, I was just at a young age just searching for something that I felt like I could just be myself in. Like, I didn't have to perform or to do all the right things or say all the right things or just do what other people wanted me to do in order to be loved. And so that again had me being very rebellious, had me being on things that I did not have any business being on, which was Facebook. My mom was very strict about me not being on any social media at the time. It really was just Facebook and MySpace at the time. But she was just very like strict, like no. And again, as a parent now, I 110% get it. But at that age, it just felt like I wasn't getting that from my parents. So like I was just longing for something else. Like I don't know. And when I was on Facebook, I stumbled across my kid's dad. I don't know. We started off as friends. We started off just talking. Like he was the same age. Well, he was a year older than me. I was 13. He was 14. And we were just friends. Like we literally sat and talked to each other all day, every day over the phone, and just via text for a whole year before we even met each other in person. And so that's what really like grounded that relationship for me. And that was just really the beginning of the story for us.
Yeah. And I think that so many of us confuse comfort with connection. And sometimes we stay because we see the potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know the person, especially if we've trauma bonded, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we know the person and we see their potential, not their patterns. And so now, what do they say? Hindsight is 2020. So looking back, what were the earliest red flags that you now recognize as manipulation or emotional abuse?
Looking back, I would say like the earliest forms of manipulation was probably around 16. 16 is when the manipulation started for me, because it's when the deception started. It's when I found out that he was talking to other girls, that I found out that he was doing drugs at the time. I found out that he had really bad anger issues. So all of that stuff was kind of coming to surface at that time. And that's what prompted us to actually break up at 16. I did break up with him on my 16th birthday because he forgot my birthday. And at the time, like, that was like catastrophic for me, because how can you have known me since I was 13 and here it is my 16th birthday and you don't know it's my birthday? What's going on? So yeah, those were definitely some huge red flags in hindsight, for sure.
Yeah. And, I think that it's important to note that sometimes it doesn't always just show up as violence. When people have not been in this situation, they think that it immediately starts with a person putting their hands on you. But I think that oftentimes it starts as, the silent treatment, the guilt, or even just the instilling that fear for you to be able to say no to a person. There's definitely levels to it. And I mean, again, some situations do start off very physical out the gate, but I think that most times it's a quiet grooming into it. They're like, let me test the limits. Let me see what I can do. And so I want to go back. And again, on your terms, as we do this conversation, I'm wondering if you can take us back to the moment in July of 2024. What do you remember about that day? And, what was going through your mind when everything shifted from being familiar to frightening?
July 2024 was a very happy time, and it's crazy because I was pursuing my MSW, so my master's in social work, and I only had about 6 months left to graduate, and I was doing an internship at the time, and I had just decided that I wanted to go back to work because he had been paying all the bills to allow me to just go to school and focus on doing that and focus on our two children because at the time they were 1 and 3. So just focus on them and go to school. And I had finally decided, like, you know what, even though he's paying the bills, I still want to go back to work because I am passionate about what I do, not necessarily to, make money, but because it's what I'm passionate about. And I had got a job offer at one of the biggest nonprofits in my city, like for domestic violence. And I was so ecstatic because I had been wanting to work with them literally for years, but I had not been able to get in. I had not been able to get in as an intern or just as a worker. So it was just monumental for me. Like, wow, like I've finally made it to this place. So the day of the incident was actually my first day working at the job. So I went to the job and I had my, the first day of my orientation, and I loved it so much. Like I was just, everybody could literally just see the passion, like pouring off of me. So
Yeah.
everybody was just so excited as I was. And so when I didn't show up for work the next day, they were immediately alarmed. So the first day of me working as a domestic violence coordinator at one of the biggest domestic violence nonprofits in my city, I went to pick our two kids up, which were at his sister's house because she did daycare. And it happened to be her birthday, and her birthday happened to be 4 days before my birthday. So, girl, your birthday is my birthday, it's our birthday. And I just started my
Right.
job. Like, I was literally ecstatic. I'm walking on cloud nine.
Right.
And my kid's dad, like, he was fuming. He was fuming. And he wasn't fuming because I got the job. He was fuming because I didn't want to be with him anymore. Prior to this day, things had he got really angry and he punched our bathroom door down off the hinges, punched the door into the bathtub, and he punched the side mirror off of my car. So at that point, I was just checked out, and I let him know like I did not want to be with him.
Yeah.
It was just getting too far gone. Like at this point, like you're doing things that is just too much for me. Like I don't want my kids witnessing this. Things are not. I'm not happy. Like I don't know who you are at this point. Like I've always told him that. Like I don't know who you are. I don't know who you become. So that was kind of like the state of where we were on that day. Um, so we went out for his sister's birthday anyway because I'm like, come on, like we're gonna go and celebrate your birthday. Like it's so much to celebrate. And he went along with us. And the whole time he was just very, very upset, very just irritated. He didn't want to be there the whole time. He was just saying how like I didn't love him anymore. Just telling his sister all these things, just making all these comments from the back seat because his sister was in the front. I'm driving and he's in the back, and I'm just like, anyway. So I'm over it. I'm not feeding into it. I'm just like, you know what, like whatever you want to say, like I really don't care. And that just honestly, I feel like made him madder. Because I wasn't feeding into it. And I'm just like, we're going to still go on with the day. It's her birthday. My day's in a couple of days. And I just got a new job that I love. Like, are you crazy? Like, I'm just so past the relationship at this point, and he can tell. Um, so me and his sister ended up going out, and he ended up storming off. Mind you, I was driving, and at the time, he didn't have a phone. His car was at his sister's house, and his phone was broken, so he couldn't use it. He stormed off probably around 12, 12 at night. He stormed off. And I dropped his sister off around 1 to 2 a.m. And she said that she was going to keep our kids because, again, she was watching them for daycare. So they stayed the night at her house. So I went home. I don't know where he is at this point. I don't know. I went home and I just woke up at like 4 a.m. to pounding on the front door. Like boom, 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 like the police. So I go to the door and it's him. And I open it and he storms in and we're arguing. Like I don't remember what exactly was said or what exactly was done. I just remember waking up in a pool of blood. Like when I mean a pool of blood, I mean like there's blood everywhere. So I immediately just go to the bathroom because I'm like, where is this blood coming from? And
Right.
I look in the mirror and I see that my jaw is like my teeth, the bottom of my teeth are like in the back of my throat. Like I could literally see them in the back of my throat, like by my
Mhm.
tonsils. And I immediately just started crying. Like I'm just hysterical at this point because I'm like, what did you do? Like what just happened? I don't know. Like I'm so confused. And he's actively like cleaning up, trying to tell me like, oh well, we were arguing and I turned around and I elbowed you and then you hit your head on the windowsill and I'm just like, huh? Like it's not making sense. It's not
Yeah.
making sense to me. Why don't I remember? Why is there blood everywhere? How is it that you just elbowed me and now my teeth are in the back of my throat? So I'm distraught and I'm just sitting there like I literally had to collect myself. It probably took me like 30 minutes to literally just like I'm stunned. And he's just like begging, pleading to take me to the hospital. And I'm just like, no. And something just clicked. I'm just like, girl, like you need to leave. Like you need to get out of here. So I got up and I ran to my car just for me to realize like I did not have any pants on. I'm like, wow, like I'm out here with no pants on, no phone, no glasses, no nothing. So I had to run back in the house, go get some clothes on. And then I just end up driving myself to the hospital because my phone is broken at this point. So I can't call anybody. My phone's broken. I'm just like, I just need to get to the hospital because this is the most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life. So I drive all the way to the hospital. I'm sitting there. They had me wait for probably like 10 minutes. Like it felt like an hour. It was the longest wait of my life. By the time they finally got me into the back and they looked at my face and they saw the injuries, they gave me um, fentanyl and morphine. And that's how I knew, like, okay, this is serious. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what is happening, but this is serious. And they let me know that my jaw was broken on both sides and dislocated on one side, and that I had to immediately go to shock trauma and get emergency surgery. And I'm like instantly crying again at this point because surgery, like I've never had surgery at this point. So I'm just like, surgery right now, today, like, is that bad? Like, mind you, I was in pain and I saw my teeth in the back of my throat, but it still did not register to me that I was going to have surgery. So at that point, um, my mom pops up at the hospital, and I'm just like, how did you get here? Like, my phone is broken. Um, so at that point, she's like, yeah, your job called me and said that you didn't come to work, which again, I had such an amazing first day and they could literally see how excited I was about being there. It just did not make sense to them why I wouldn't come back the next day. So they did call my emergency contact, which was my mom. And I actually share locations with my cousin. So she reached out to her and was able to locate me, even though my phone was broken. They were still able to locate my last location at the hospital. Um, so at that point, she came and she was just stunned. Like my whole family was just stunned. And at that point, for me, it was just like, okay, this is really over because I had, and I feel like it's so common for women who experience domestic violence. We try to make excuses for our partners. We try to conceal what we're going through.
Yeah.
So up until that point, like my family hadn't really been aware of what was going on. In terms of like his explosive anger or like the state of our relationship, or like they weren't really aware of that. So it was just like, okay, now they know everything, and this is over. Like I can't, like this is over with. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that was the beginning of what I thought was the end, but the beginning of the worst 6 months of my life. Like, because unfortunately the violence did not stop there.
Yeah. And I want to just pause for a moment to, honestly say, I believe that it really takes strength to revisit these moments. And
Mhm.
I think that that just speaks volumes about your courage. And I just, want to take a pause here just to honor that. Um, and again, it's always the hindsight. You in that moment thought this is the end, like this is the last straw, like we just can't go any further, and then you realize it was the beginning of that next chapter
Mhm.
that you had to go through. And so when you feel ready, can you share what finally became the last straw for you, just that final moment? I believe it, you said overall it spanned over maybe like 6 month period.
Mhm.
um but what was that final moment when your spirit just shifted and you realized things could no longer continue this way?
Well, when I say that it was not the end but the beginning, that moment was the shifting for me. Like having my jaw broken was the shifting for me, because it was just like, okay, like you could have killed me. Like, and at that moment, like that's all I kept thinking about. Like, I could, what if I didn't wake up? Like, you literally knocked me out. Like, what if I did not wake up? So at that point, it was just like I knew, like, okay, this is over. But what I mean by I knew it was the beginning and not the end was that it was over for me, not for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to get to the point where I was finally like, okay, I'm okay with releasing this relationship and everything that I thought it would be. I'm okay with letting go of this history that we have. I'm okay with letting go of the fact that my kids will no longer have a two-parent household. I'm okay with that because I would rather them see me be happy by myself versus think that this is what love looks like and what they should accept as young girls. So for me, that's when the shift happened. But again, once he broke my jaw, it was just like, okay, this is the beginning because he's not gonna let me he's not gonna let me walk away from this. And so I moved out. Um, and he was arrested. But unfortunately, the charges were dropped by the state's attorney because they determined that because there were no witnesses, it was his word against mine, and case closed. So
Mm.
that put me in limbo because it's just like, okay, now there's no, like, the police aren't doing anything. We still have kids. He's still trying to see them. The kids are still asking about him. Like, I'm just like put in this space because also now I'm trying to, figure out how to navigate this because I did go back to work just 3 weeks later. I was diagnosed with PTSD, depression, anxiety, all the things, but I was still trying to work because I didn't want this to stop me. It was just like, I'm not going to allow him to just stop my life. Like, I just started this job. I love it. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want him to be controlling me in that aspect. And the fact that I was working and doing things independently was also triggering him, because I didn't need him financially, um, and I didn't need him for the girls financially. Like, I didn't need that. But it started to get to a point where I did need support from my mental health because it's just like being a single parent and a single working parent at that is tough. Like, I don't have a village. I don't have people that's going to come and just take care of my kids and just, like, I don't have that. So it was literally just me and him for the primary care of our children. So once I X'd him out because of him breaking my jaw, it was just like, whoa, like I felt the weight of everything. Like, I had to do literally everything. Take them to daycare, go to work, pay for this, do that, and just still heal at the same time. So it got to a point where I was just like, okay, maybe I can let, the kids see him, because in my mind it was like, okay, he didn't hurt them. So, like if we meet in a mutual space where other people are and I just drop them off, like it should be fine. So I was dropping them off. The meeting point was his mom's house. At this point, it's October. So this is when I let him see them again in October. This happened in July. He broke my jaw in July 2024, and I let him see the kids again starting in October of 2024. And the conditions were, they had to be at your mom's house because I just don't want any problems. And that was fine up until his mom decided that, oh, the kids are making too much of a mess and he's not cleaning up after them, so they can no longer come here. Mind you, his parents have never really had like a relationship with my kids. They've never come to pick them up, call them, to tell them happy birthday, anything like that. Even after he broke my jaw, his parents never reached out to me to say a word. But she reached out to me to tell me that my kids could no longer come there because they were making a mess and their dad was not cleaning it up. And then proceeded to say that because he broke my jaw, he did not need to be playing house anyway. And I'm just like, whoa,
What?
playing house with your own kids and you shouldn't have to do it after you physically assaulted me?
That's crazy.
Crazy. So I tell him and he immediately goes off because I'm like, you know what? Like, you're not going to be able to see your kids no more. And this is why. This is why. Because it's just too much. And that created a whole issue also. So at that point, we're probably like at the end of November. So he had been kept asking to see the kids, and my oldest had constantly been asking about him because up until, he broke my jaw, he was there literally every day of their lives. He was a dad. He wasn't just, a monetary dad or any of that. He was there every day for my girls, and they knew him as their dad because that's who he was. So it was tough, like having my kids constantly ask about their father and having him constantly ask about them. So now I'm questioning myself, like, am I doing something wrong? Like, should I just let him see them? Like, I really need a break. They really want to see him. He wants to see them. He hasn't harmed them. Like, the charges aren't going anywhere. Like, okay. So I tell him, I'm like, on the night of December the 11th, it was probably around 5. He had been asking to see them. And then he just disappeared. So I called him. I'm like, are you still coming to get the kids? Do you still want to see them? He's like, yeah, I'm about to come and get them now. I'm on my way. So he pulls up to my house out back because he coming to get them from my house now at this point because he can't go to his mom's house. So I'm like, okay, just pull up at my house. I'll bring them outside and we'll do it that way. So I bring the kids outside. I put them in the car. I strap them in and I go to walk away. And well, actually, once I strapped them in, like I could see on his face that he wasn't in a good mood. So I asked him because at this point I'm just trying to keep the peace. I'm like, "Are you okay? Like, do you need a hug? Like, are you good? Like, because I don't want to be on this man's bad side." And he's just like, "Why do you care?" Mind you, prior to this, he's blowing my phone up. Like prior to this day, he's blowing me up. He wants us to be together. He's telling me how he is no way I can be with somebody else and how like we still have to make our family work. And I'm just trying to like ignore that because it's just like, of course you're trying to still be together with me. We've been together since we were 13. I'm 26 at this point. So like, of course. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not feeding into it, which was new for him because I've always went back. So at this point, he could see that I was serious about not being with him anymore. And I could see in his face that he was irritated. And I asked him, I'm like, are you okay? He's like, why do you care? And I'm just like, okay, well, let me know when you come back and I'll come out and get the kids. So I went to turn away. And as I turned away, he punched me in the face 2 times, right on both sides. And at that point, it registered in my mind, like, oh, that's how he broke my jaw. It has to be. But because he broke my jaw in July, just 5 months prior to when this happened, I have 10 titanium plates and screws across my jaw. So I did not feel that. I didn't feel him punch me. So it didn't knock me out. I was wide awake. I stumbled and I just looked at him and I'm like, what are you doing? And at that point, he came behind me and he put his arm behind me and he's strangling me. Um, and I'm just like, I'm trying to scream, I'm trying to do something, but I can't because he's strangling me. So at that point, he lets go and we fall to the ground. And the only words that I could get out of my mouth were like, God, please no. And once we hit the ground, I saw a knife fall. And that's when it registered in my mind, like, oh, he's stabbing me. He's not just strangling me, he's stabbing me. And when I said, God, please no, like literally in an instant, he got up and he ran to the car. And I immediately, like, all I was thinking was my kids. Like, I'm like, so I jumped up and I ran behind him to go and fling the car door open to get my babies out. But because I had strapped them in to the car seat, I'm trying to like yank my 1-year-old out of her car seat. And blood is just like pouring everywhere all over my 4-year-old. Well, she was 3 at the time. So she is screaming her head off. And while all this is happening, he's driving the car and the car is open. The door is open. My right foot is on the ground. Mind you, my left foot has no shoe. I went outside in Crocs because I was thinking it was going to be a quick exchange. By the grace of God, I put my coat on because I wasn't going to. I was just going to go out there in a little hoodie because it was going to be quick, even though it was cold. But something said, put your coat on. And I'm so glad that I listened to that because had I not, the stab wounds probably would have been worse than what they were. But I put my coat on and, I had my hand on the door, trying to keep the door open. Because at that point, I'm like, I don't want the door to shut. Because once the door shut, like I just felt like I'm in here. He's driving. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm trying to keep the door open, trying to yank them out. And the whole time I'm pleading with him, like, please just listen. Like, I don't know what you were trying to do, but you've already done it. Like, just don't hurt our kids. Like, just let me go. Let them go. Like, please don't do this. Please don't do this. Like, I'm just begging him the whole time. Like, please. And he's just like, get out the car. He's like, I'm going to stop and you're going to get out the car. So at about 5 minutes, he stopped the car. And he's like, get out. And I'm like, no, like, just give me the kids. I'm still actively trying to get my kids out. And so he looks back and he like jumps, he bucks at me. And I'm like, okay, he's serious. He like, if you don't get out, I'm going to get out. And I'm like, you get out. In my mind, I'm like, if he gets out, he's going to finish the job. Mind you, he pulled on a dark street. So it's nobody coming. It's the winter time. So it's pitch black, even though it's only like 7 p.m.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I have to get out. And once I'm like, okay, fine, I'm going to get out. I remember that I had my phone. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get out. And I literally prayed and I'm just like, God, like, it's in your hands. And he drove off and I immediately called the police to let them know, like, okay, my kids just been taken by their dad. He just stabbed me. And they were immediately like, well, where are you? Don't move. Where are you stabbed? I'm just like, I really don't know. And I'm not going to stay right here because I don't want him to turn around and change his mind. So at that point, he drives away and I begin walking back to my house while I'm on the phone with the police. And after I hang up with them, I call my mom. And my mom is already looking for me because she heard me. Well, she didn't hear me, but my youngest brother heard me when I was like, God, please no. And he came to the door as we were pulling off. So he alerted my family and let them know what was going on. So they were already like frantically trying to figure out where I was. So when they got that call from me, they were already in the car and I directed them to where I was and they pulled up. And once they got out, like I knew it was serious because my mom and my aunts were hysterical. And I hadn't looked at my injuries because of my background. I'm already knowing, like, if I look, I'm probably going to go into shock. So it's best if I just don't look. I can't feel anything because the adrenaline is already pumping. The only thing that I can feel is, like, the blood pouring out of my back. Like, there was blood just, like, gushing out of my back. And once we got to my mom and took me to the hospital. And when we walked in, the way everybody was so urgent, and I immediately went to the back. That's how I knew, like, oh, he stabbed me for real. Like, this is serious. And so the crime scene came in. Everybody came in. They immediately gave me blood transfusions. I had to get 3 blood transfusions. And they let me know, they assessed my injuries and let me know that I was stabbed 11 times. I had 1 stab wound in my neck that was an inch away from my main artery. I had 1 stab wound in my chest that was an inch away from my heart, and the one in my back, the whole span of the knife, which was like 5 inches, went all the way in my back, and it was literally an inch away from my spine. They also let me know that I had to have emergency surgery because I could not feel my right arm. He had stabbed me through my arm, so the nerves were severed and I could not feel anything. Like I couldn't feel anything in my right arm. So I immediately had to get 3 blood transfusions just to get transported to shock trauma, just to have all of my wounds stitched up while I'm wide awake. I'm wide awake and they're stitching me up. And then I had to go to surgery to get my arm fixed. And that left me with a splint on both of my arms because he stabbed me in my finger on this side, which almost cut my finger off. So I left the hospital with 11 stab wounds and 2 splinted arms. And that was finally the end of the abuse, but the beginning of something completely different.
So again, you mentioned that you remember whispering, "God, please no," and immediately felt his presence with you. What did faith look like in that moment? And what does it look like now after everything?
In that moment, faith for me looked like, I know God didn't bring me this far to leave me. Like, I know this is not what the end of my life is going to look like. I know this man is not going to take my life in front of my kids. Like, I know this is not going to happen. Like, usually when people have near-death experiences, they say how their life flashed before their eyes. No, my life did not flash before my eyes because I knew, like, this was not the end of my life. This could not be the end of my life. Like, there was nothing else that crossed my mind except for, God, please, no. Like, this cannot be the end. Like, no way. Like, I can't let my kids and my mom and my family mourn me at the hand of this man. Like, there's no way. Like, no. Yeah. Like, I just knew that wasn't it. And even today, like, God is still carrying me. Like, as somebody who survived something so traumatic, every day is hard. Like, my brain was literally rewired. Like, I've been living in survival for so long. I'm just finally coming out of it, and I've been having faith in God to carry me through. Faith in God to not live the way that I've been used to live. Like, I was used to relying on my degrees and my jobs and the things that I knew to take care of me and my children financially, and all those things. And now I'm in a space where I can't work right now because of the weight of everything that I survived. I tried to push through and go to work. It wasn't good for me. At that point, I heard God telling me to just stop. Like, and that's what faith looks like right now. It's just trusting him. It's doing what doesn't feel comfortable, but what feels aligned. It's being obedient so that I don't have to sacrifice my health physically or mentally. And that's just really what life has been for me lately. Like, things aren't easy by any way, shape, form, or fashion, especially being a single parent through and through now. Everything is on me, from care to finances to everything, and I don't have a job. And God has literally been providing. I have not paid a bill in the last year because God has been providing. I don't have a job and I haven't had one for a year because God has been providing. And that's what faith looks like. It looks like doing what's hard or what seems impossible and expecting God to carry you through, because he would not bring you this far to leave you. Like, there's no way he's going to bring you to something to not bring you through it. And I know 100% that it wasn't God's will for me to be stabbed 11 times. No. But I know that because now in hindsight, I overlooked things that I shouldn't have, that I allowed things to continue that I shouldn't have, that it just continued to allow things to escalate, and get worse progressively instead of, walking away, and not feeling bad about it, not feeling bad about, my kids not having a dad or him not being able to see them, because it's just like, as a survivor and as a woman, as a mother, like, you had to prioritize your safety first, because if you aren't safe, there's no way your kids will ever be safe. Like, it's just no way. So realizing that now, again, in hindsight, I see where there has been many times where I could have walked away sooner, and I should have, and it probably wouldn't have escalated to this point as I have. And that's what faith looks like for me, knowing that even though I disobeyed God in so many ways, where I wasn't willing to let go of what I was familiar and comfortable with, because I felt like I had invested so much time, because I felt like, oh, we have known each other for so long, we're so in love, and we had kids, and I don't want to be a single mom, and I don't want my kids to grow up in a broken home, when the whole time the relationship was breaking me. And I didn't realize that I was just as important, if not more important, to save than the relationship. And that saving me was what was going to save my children. Like, I didn't really realize that entirely, until, he broke my jaw. And again, at that point, it was just danger for me, because I knew he wasn't going to let go. But God, like, literally, but God. And that's what faith really looks like for me then and now, is just trusting God even in the unfamiliar territory, because he definitely didn't bring you this far to leave you.
Amen. I think it is so incredible how faith can carry us through what should have crushed us, right? All the weapons formed against us. If we just have that faith, that mustard seed of faith, all the things that are meant to destroy us just fall by the wayside. Like, no, we might have some bruises, we might have some bumps or some scars, some memories, good and bad, but I'm always in awe of how I can look back at my life and see how God kept me covered. When I was young and dumb and naive, and he kept us covered. And so that's truly, I don't know, to me, I think it's just truly a blessing. It's just something to give praise for. And so, okay, so now everything's, done, as far as now you're in the hospital, so you're getting the treatment. But at this point, he still has the children, right?
At this point, he still has my children. So I'm in the hospital, and they come and take pictures of my wounds, and they tell me, the police tell me, yeah, we're going to charge him with assault. And I'm just like, assault? And then they also tell me that they aren't going to do an Amber Alert because there's no custody established. So, okay. My family is texting him from my phone, particularly my sister, my older sister. She's texting him, like, just give us the kids. And I'm telling her, like, you're just going to make him mad. Or, like, I don't want y'all talking to him because y'all are just going to escalate him. So he tells her that he's going to kill them. And at that point, I'm like, yeah, just give me my phone, because I don't know what's going on, but y'all don't need to talk to him. And that's when the police decided, okay, we can track his phone, because he said that he was going to kill them. So I'm texting him. I'm like, please just give me the kids back. Like, please just don't do this. And he's like, okay, I'll meet you at your house and drop them off. So in my mind, I'm just like, meet me at the house. Like, I can't come to my house. Like, you just. So my mom, like, okay, he's really just trying to finish the job. But of course, I'm in the hospital. I'm not going anywhere. I can't go anywhere. They're not going to let me get up and walk away anyway. So they see that, and they all, my family and the police go, and we at the house. And I think that spooked him, because it's like, oh, y'all probably were just sitting out in the open. I don't know, but I'm sure he rode past and saw all these cars and was like, yeah, no. So at that point, he just like, yeah, he's not bringing them. And that's when the police conducted a search, and they were able to find them at a hotel in the county somewhere. I can't remember which county, but in a county somewhere, they found him. They said the kids were asleep, unharmed, and he was just drinking and on drugs. So.
Yeah, there's so much, so much to even unpack after all of that. I'm glad, number one, that you're here today, sharing your story, being a blessing to others. I'm glad that the children are, what I would say is okay. I mean, obviously there's a lot that they're going to have to unpack, and it shows up different for our kiddos, because we never know what they process, what they remember, until it reveals itself. So when we look at the aftermath of all of this, after surviving the attack, what did the days and the weeks that followed look like for you, physically, mentally, and spiritually?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I think, immediately following the incident, what recovery looked like to me was getting the charges changed. Immediately, as soon as I got out of the hospital, which I was only in the hospital for about 2 days, they stitched me up, all 11 of my wounds up on the first day when I first went in, and then I had surgery, and I had to stay there for them to just observe me after surgery, and then I was released to go home. And the day after I was released, I went to the state's attorney, and I'm just like, how is it that you decided that this is assault when this man stabbed me 11 times? He collapsed the lung. He broke my ribs. I had to get 3 blood transfusions, and yet we're calling it assault. And she agreed, and she was just like, I don't know how that happened, but we're going to up the charges to first and second degree attempted murder, along with first and second degree assault and endangering a minor. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is good. We're getting somewhere. Just for me to constantly go back and forth with them about plea agreements, and them to offer him a plea agreement that I denied, which was 30 years all suspended but 12, and the possibility of parole at 60% time served. So I just felt like that was a slap in the face, because it's like 12 years, that's it, and he gets the possibility of parole at 50% time served. Like, are we serious right now? And then to add insult to injury, we go to court, and they tell me that he has supervised visitation rights. And I'm just like, I'm stunned. I'm like,
wow.
Huh? Am I hearing y'all right? And they're like, well, in the state of Maryland, if there was no harm done to the child, then he still has rights as a father. And I'm just like, I'm stunned at that point. We went to trial. Well, we went to court. It was supposed to be trial, but he ended up taking a plea. And this happened in July of 2025, which I feel like it was very full circle, because it happened. That's when my jaw was broken, in July of 2024. So to have his sentence be given to him in July of 2025, it was just like very full circle for me. But it was still just very like crushing. Like, it was just defeating, because it's just like, at what point do we prioritize my safety? Like, my kids are 4 and 2 now. If he does the whole 12 years, which I doubt he will, but if he does happen to do the whole 12 years, my kids won't even be 18 when he gets out. And you guys are still telling me that he's entitled to visitation, even though he tried to kill me. Knowing that he broke my jaw just 5 months before he attempted to kill me, and you guys dropped the charges 5 months ago. Maybe if you were pursuant of those charges, we wouldn't have escalated to this point. But to think that, okay, we're just going to let him out and still have access to you and your children after everything that he did, and this is going to be fine, is like insane to me. So it's just another piece of the faith walk for me, because I know like my life will not end at his hand. Like God has the last say. So, and even though he wasn't given a sentence that I would have agreed with, I can honestly say I'm grateful that he was given a sentence this time. Um, and I'm grateful to have walked away from my life, because I know so many stories where it didn't end that way. So it's just like I'm grateful, but I find myself just just still living like on eggshells a little bit, because it's just like you just never really know. And just having the aftermath of surviving something like that. Like I said, I had PTSD, anxiety, depression. Um, and I had to go to therapy, physical and mental therapy twice a week. My oldest daughter, she also is diagnosed with PTSD and has to go to therapy once a week. She has been very vocal about what she witnessed since the day she witnessed it. She's been trying to make sense of it. Mommy, why did daddy stab you with a knife? Why were you bleeding all over us? What happened? Why didn't daddy want you in a car? Like, all these questions, even a year later, she still asks. Even with going to therapy, she still asks, even though I've answered the questions over and over again, even though she's witnessed it, she still asks. She still wants to know why she can't see her dad. She still wants to know, where is he? Why is he in the hospital? Because that's what I told her, like, daddy's in the hospital because he hurt mommy and he needs to get better. He needs help. And she's just like, she doesn't understand. So every day is just a battle for me in terms of monitoring my own flashbacks and my own feelings around everything that's happening, and my own just mental health, and then also trying to make sure that she's okay. Because my 1 year old, she doesn't remember her dad. She doesn't like her. My 4 year old's like, oh, look, it's your dad. She's like, that's your daddy. Like, she's like, that's
Yeah.
not, I don't know who that man is. So she has no recollection of it. But my 4 year old, like, this is something that she thought she's gonna take with her forever.
Yeah.
She's not gonna forget it. And that's heart wrenching too, because it's like, I can be fine, I can be okay, I can be managing, and then boom, here comes my daughter. Mommy, why did daddy stab you with a knife? And I'm just, whew. So it's just a lot. Like, every day after surviving is literally a battle of survival. Like, it's, you
Yeah.
don't just, it doesn't end with the violence or with the um sentence. Like, this is a lifelong walk, and having faith is just one of those things that's been getting you through it.
Yeah. And so at this, in this season, how are you helping your children heal while doing your own inner work? And what conversations are you having now that maybe you couldn't have before?
Um, Therapy, like, as a social worker, like, that was just like a no brainer for me. Like, of course,
Yeah.
my baby's going to therapy. Um, so that has been a huge part of her healing and processing, is just being able to go to therapy and have a different outlet to, you know, work through those feelings. But also, I just let my baby feel her feelings. Like, I'm so big on that, because I grew up as a person who suppressed her feelings. Like, I didn't feel like I could tell my parents certain things, or like I could go to my mom in confidence and tell her how I felt. So I always want to create a space where, regardless of how I feel about it, I allow my baby to feel her feelings. I'm not going to tell her, oh, you can't miss your dad because he stabbed me. I'm not going to tell her that. You miss your dad, baby, it's okay, I understand. He was there every day of your life. I could only imagine how that feels to have somebody there every day and then they just disappear. Actually, I know how that feels. Um, so it's just, I allow her to feel her feelings, and I allow her to talk to me about it, even if it is triggering for me. And I know for a lot of people that can be controversial, like, oh, well, like, if it's triggering for me, like, I just shut it down. And I and 10% advocate for people to do what feels best for them. But for me, I need to allow her that space, and I want her to know that mommy is a safe person to talk to, even about hard things. So that's just been like the biggest piece of healing for us, is just like allowing her to process it on her time, in her own way. She might not talk about it for days, and then she might talk about it for a whole week. She might, tell me today she's angry at her dad because he stabbed me with a knife, and then tomorrow she'll tell me how much she misses him and how much she just wants to play with him. And it's just like, she's 4. Like, I can't expect her to just understand the gravity of what happened, and to understand, like, okay, mommy might not want to talk about that, or I can't expect her to understand it. So instead of that, I just let her feel it, and I just pray, and I just tell her like to pray, and to pray for her dad, and to pray, for me, and pray for herself, pray for us all, because that's literally all we can do, baby. When it's beyond me, I put it in his hands, because you were his child before you were mine. And if I can't help you, he will. So that's just how I deal with those things.
And I love that you're giving your children room to breathe. To allow them the opportunity to feel what they need to feel. And that is very commendable, because sometimes, as a parent, I know how difficult it can be to have to compartmentalize what we're going through in order to be the greater good for what they're going through. Especially when you think of split parenting. Even if we were to take the abusive part out of it, just co-parenting when, there's drama or tension in the families, or your in-laws, and, things like that. And so it's sometimes hard to compartmentalize, to say, I can't stand this person, but I know you love them, and I think that, healing for you and your children, your daughters, healing like that takes honesty, right? It takes humility. And I know that's, part of how we break cycles. Because again, you experience things growing up and you're like, not my daughters, they're not going to go through this. And even though now they've, witnessed something that you never would have imagined them having to witness, but you're like, okay, I'm not going to shame them. I'm not going to, try to micromanage their emotions and their feelings. You can feel how you feel, and mommy can feel how she feels, and we can still live a happy, healthy life. And so again, I just think that is so commendable. As you're telling your story, just sitting here thinking, I'm like, girl, I don't know if I could do it. I know that God would get me through it. You know what I mean? So I fully understand that, but I just keep thinking like, God, I don't know if I could do it. Cause that's a lot.
It's a lot. And that's something I hear a lot as I share my story, and people try to tell me like how I should handle when my kids ask me about him, and how they would tell me like, oh, I would just tell them like he died, and I would just say this and that. And it's like, oh my goodness. I don't know, like, because I believe in God so wholeheartedly, like, I know it's not my job to condemn anybody else. Like, he has the last say so. He had vengeance is his. Okay, I don't need to condemn anybody. He's already done it to himself. When my kids are old enough to understand, they will. Bashing him now when they don't even have the capacity to understand, it's not really going to, like, what does that do for them or for me? Like, just say like, oh, your dad hates me, or your dad tried to kill me, why do you miss him? Or like, that just inflicts more trauma to me than it does healing for them and for me, because it's just like, I release it. It's God. It's no longer mine to hold on to. Like, I will no longer allow him to take life from me.
Yeah. And those whys never stop. I think that as parents, we know from the time that the children can say why, they never stop asking you why. So if you don't give them the accurate answer in the beginning, you're going to forever have to keep painting this picture of this pretty picture. And every year you're going to have to make that picture prettier. And then at some point they're going to realize how ugly things have been. And that next question is, why did you lie to me? Why didn't you tell me? And so I think that, it's very healthy. And I'm so glad that you have the tools, because again, it's the career path that you chose.
God equipped me.
Yeah. So absolutely. So if you have to look back thinking, okay, well, at least I was armed for this. Like I was prepared for this. Maybe not physically, but like mentally, spiritually, emotionally, you were equipped to know this is what I have to do next. I may not want to, but this is what I have to do next. And so I'm just so thankful and grateful that that was your career path. And that God led you into that prior to, you going through these chapters. Because I think that is something that got you through that and will continue to carry you and your children, for the rest of your life. And I know that you said that, he was a great father. As so many of these stories, they're always great to everyone else. It always looks good from the outside, So you said that he was a great father, and that, your compassion sometimes made you extend him grace, even at your own expense. That night in question, you gave him grace, like, oh, he loves his kids. It's me. The problem that he has is with me. So now, again, fast forwarding, how has your understanding of forgiveness and boundaries evolved since then?
They have evolved 110%. Like, because I grew up thinking that performance equal love, I felt like pleasing people was more important than pleasing myself. It was more important to get approved from others than to acknowledge what I needed and to respect and honor what I needed. Like, for example, I would overextend, constantly make excuses, just, again, like you said, give grace even when I shouldn't have. Like, okay, so what? He was a good dad. He doesn't value or respect you. And if he doesn't value or respect you, he can never value or respect your children, even if they are his. Because he wouldn't harm you knowing that you take care of his children if he really cared about them. And so in hindsight, it's just eye-opening to me how deeply rooted like these issues have been in terms of my like feeling like I had to just please others. Like, that's just it. Like, just make everybody else happy. Like, even down to me going back to work after what happened to me. Like, I didn't go back to work because I felt like I needed money. I went back to work because I felt like my clients needed me, because I felt my mom in my ear telling me, oh, you need to work. You still have kids that depend on you. I had people around me telling me, you need to work. When I knew God in my body and my mind was telling me, you need to rest. You need to slow down. You need to stop. So in hindsight, it's just like those boundaries. I have boundaries and I don't feel bad about them anymore. Like, I have boundaries and I don't over-explain them anymore. I have boundaries and I don't feel the need to have people understand them anymore. I do what I feel is best for me and my children and what I feel like God is telling me to do. And for so long, I was in a place where I felt like pleasing people is what God was calling me to do. But that was never what he was calling me to do. He never called me to be a sacrifice. He never called me to be a martyr. He never called me to be a footstool or a doormat. He never called me to be those things. He called me to be obedient to him. And sometimes pleasing others is disobedient because we have to allow him to have his way. And sometimes we stand in his way when we try to save people, when we try to give people grace where they don't need it, when we try to give compassion where it shouldn't be extended. And I think in hindsight now, I see where that grace and compassion shouldn't have been extended that night, because it's just like, okay, so what, you miss them? Like, so what, they miss you? Like, you almost ended my life. And because I was so worried about, how he felt about it, how my kids felt about it, how everybody else felt about it, I disregarded my own safety and my own well-being to make everybody else feel comfortable and happy. And so like now I had to learn that lesson a very hard way, but it's a lesson that I'm so grateful to have learned now. Like I really feel like I have finally given myself permission and room to breathe.
Yeah. And I think that is just like a master class in growth, right? Learning that forgiveness doesn't mean access. When you do have what I always call the disease to please, it is very disobedient, because instead of you listening to where you should be, and like you said, being obedient to what God is calling you to do, all you hear is the chatter from everyone around you. I have to do this because I have to have the picture perfect family. I have to do this and be this kind of woman, and I have to go to work, and I got to do. It's like, so we hear all of this chatter, all of this noise, except the one voice that we should be listening to. And so I think that once you get those boundaries, you know what I mean? Like once you realize I'm doing the most and I should, and it's yielding the least for me, and you start to set those boundaries, you look back and you're like, girl, you was a mess. Girl, I love you though.
Like, are you okay? Yeah. And that's just what really informs like my relationship and how I handle my kids, because like I never want them to feel disregarded, because feeling disregarded as a child is what really like informs so many of our adulthood ways. And feeling like you have to please people as a child will follow you into your adulthood if it is not addressed properly. So being a child and feeling like I have to just please my parents, I have to please everybody, and as long as I do that, it's okay regardless of how I feel. But no, that's not okay. And I never want my kids to feel that. I never want them to feel like they can't be themselves, or they have to fit into this perfect little box, or they have to please everybody around them to be accepted, because that is what creates a people pleaser. And that's something I never want them to be.
Yeah. And so when you think about your inner child, right? What has your inner child needed to hear from you from this season? And how are you learning to show up for her differently now?
My inner child needed to hear that it's okay to tell people no, and it's okay to be alone. For so long, my inner child has been longing for understanding and love and connection. And as I'm older, I'm starting to understand, and in hindsight of everything that I've experienced, I'm starting to understand that the love and understanding that I was longing for was for myself. Like I had to put everything that I was putting into other people and everything that I was searching for in other people, places, and things into myself. And that doing that showed me that like I don't need anybody else outside of myself. Like I don't need that. It's nice to have it, but I don't need it, because God is who sustains me. Greater is He that is in me than he that's in the world. And for so long, I did not understand that. For so long, I felt like, it was, especially growing up in the 90s, in the 90s era, because I was a 1998, so I grew up in the 90s, but, early 2000s, and everything was so romanticized, from the TV shows to the music, and then just seeing my mom and my stepdad, who were together for 20 plus years, like, to me, it was just like, okay, you grow up and you get married and you have a family, and that was what my focus was. And so I idolized that, and I did not realize just how much I was idolizing a relationship or a family, when I needed to be focusing on me and the purpose and the mission that God placed in me, so that I can make sure that I was whole for those things when they showed up. Because trying to just be so many things for other people without figuring out who you are for yourself will just leave you depleted and lost.
Yeah. And so now you're using your platform to heal out loud, right? As a means of being able to give back and to advocate. When did you realize your survival was meant to serve a greater purpose?
I really didn't. Like I said, I wanted to open a nonprofit teaching financial literacy to domestic violence survivors since I was an undergrad. So before I even became a survivor, I wanted to help them. But I didn't realize that I would be helping in terms of the way that I am now, until God constantly like kept putting it on my heart. Like he would not leave me alone. Every time I would go to pray, I just kept hearing him tell me how I need to start a TikTok. And I'm just like, God, like, I'm not a social media person. I don't like people in my business. I'm not a very like, that's just not me. It's never been me. I'm very private. I'm very just head down. Like, I focus on what is mine to focus on. Like, I don't care to keep up with trends or to keep up with what's latest. I don't care about that stuff. Like, really, I don't. I'm a homebody through and through. Like, I don't care about that. So he constantly just was putting it on my heart. Like, your testimony is not for you. Your testimony is not for you. Your testimony is not for you. I'm just like, God, like, I'm still trying to walk this thing out. And he's like, exactly. Somebody else is too. And I'm just like, okay, if you really want me to start this TikTok, I guess I'll start the freaking TikTok. Like, that's what you want. If that's what you want, I'll start the TikTok. And I honestly did not expect the TikTok to take off. Like, I didn't expect my videos to get as much attention as they did. But the outpouring of people still in abusive relationships, people just getting out of abusive relationships, people who've been out of abusive relationships for years and that can relate to what I was going through and that actually felt like, okay, I have the strength to leave now. It blew my mind. And it was just like, okay, this is what it's all about. Like, I did not survive for me. Like, God knew that my survival was not only paramount for my children, but paramount for so many other survivors out there who might not have walked away or who might not have seen the red flags and decided to, take them seriously, or who may have been in, a relationship for so long, contemplating on, whether or not to leave. Like, there's so many people out there who my story touched, who I've talked to and who I haven't talked to. And that is just the whole reason why I feel like God was just calling me to start my TikTok. Because again, my testimony was not for me. And at the time, like, I didn't understand. At the time, I felt like vulnerable when I felt like, I don't want these people in my business. Like, I'm still actively healing from this. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. But it didn't feel right because it was new. It was unfamiliar. It's not something that I'm used to doing. So, I wanted to obey God, and that's what I did. And it has taken off in ways that I would have never imagined.
Yeah. And I think that, that revelation, the moment where you realize that your pain had purpose, I think that that's where the rebirth begins. I've shared that, my story was very similar. When I got on social media, I'm like, what you want me to talk about this for? Like, I'm supposed to be showing the girls how to do nails. Why we into something so heavy? Like, and the more I resisted it, the more he was like, no, this is what I said do. And I'm like, okay, fine, so it's always that kind of push and pull when you're trying to get aligned, when you really start to, I think, get into like your faith walk. And then once you're into it, it's like a pull that you just cannot deny.
You just get immersed in it. It's no way to get out of it.
Right. Like now I find myself saying, all right, I don't know what your plan is, big guy, but I'm with you. Like,
Because you're going to have your way anyway. So me resisting is going to make it worse. You
yeah,
know?
because I remember what happened last time I resisted. So I'm going to just
Listen,
roll with you. I could be on one
obedience is
path.
better than sacrifice every day of the
Yeah.
week.
I could be on one path. And if I get that word, go left, gotta go. I'm headed over here because I didn't got
Right.
time to figure out what's on the right.
Yeah.
Um, so if you could speak directly to the woman listening who's still in her breaking point, what would you tell her about faith, obedience, and trusting God's plan when love turns lethal?
I would say to her to honor yourself. Like, please, like, your life is so worth it, and the love that God has for you does not hurt. Like, God calls for the man or the woman, because there are men out there who struggle with DV as well. So for the person that he has for you, he calls for them to love you like Christ loved the church. He says that he who finds a wife finds a good thing. He says so many things about love that just don't line up with abuse. And so knowing that, like, I just want you all to know that that's how much he loves you. And because he loves you that much, he wants so much more for you. And I just pray that he shows you that you deserve it. Because I know as a survivor, sometimes we don't value ourselves the way that we should. We don't see ourselves the way that other people may. Um, and that alters what we accept. It changes what we allow, because we might feel like, oh, I'll never run into this type of situation again, in terms of I'll never have somebody love me like this again, or I'll never have somebody who's this good looking again, or I'll never have somebody who accepts me again. Whatever the case may be, we feel like we have to hold on to it because this is as good as it's going to get. And I want you to know that there is so much more on the other side of letting go than there is on the side of holding on. Because holding on only delays what's inevitable. Because God is going to have his way, whether you kick and scream about it or not. And so allowing him to have his way when he warns you, because warnings always come before destruction. As somebody who had to meet the destruction face to face, I will say I was warned. I was
Yeah.
warned, and I did not understand the warning. I did not see the warning. I did not hear the warning because I was so focused on having my own way. I was so focused on holding on to my family, holding on to this image, holding on to pleasing everybody else, that I was not focused on myself and making sure that I was okay. So if you find yourself in a space where you're disconnected from yourself, you don't know, like whether you coming or going, what's up from down. Like, I just want you to take a moment to sit down and be honest with yourself. If not with anybody else, just be honest with yourself about where you are, and if this is what is healthy for you right now, if this is what you really want right now. Because sometimes we'll stay in something just to preserve the image of it, even if it's not what we want, even if it's not the healthiest, even if it's not the best. We'll make excuses to say, well, no relationship is perfect and everybody goes through things, and we try to conceal things so people don't know. But I need you to be honest with yourself. And if you, after being honest with yourself, you say, I really need to leave, then I pray that you do so, because it will not get better. You will find yourself in a cycle where you go from, oh, that honeymoon phase where you're working things out, to that destructive phase where you're actively fighting and fussing, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and it just goes over and over and over and over again until it gets to a point where the destruction is lethal. Like, so I'm just praying that whoever is out there battling with an abusive relationship, that you take the steps to get the help that you need so that you can leave safely, safety plan, talk to somebody safe that you trust. Go to your local domestic violence shelters. Look at local or national resources. They are out there. If you need help, get it, because it only gets worse. It doesn't get better.
Yeah. And I think that's so powerful. I just honestly thank you for your transparency, for your obedience, and your courage to heal out loud. You, in my opinion, are just the definition of purpose rising from pain. Before we close out, I want to give you the space to share how people can stay connected with you. You know, for anyone who's listening, who may want support to help support your healing journey, you know, to follow your story or to even pour into your upcoming projects that you're building. Where can they find you, and how can, you know, they show up for you in this season as well?
I was just gonna say thank you so much for allowing me this platform to not only tell my story but also to help other survivors out there like me. I am on TikTok at just another girl with ADHD. That's two D's on the end and no spaces. You can also find me on Instagram under that name as well. My Instagram is under construction right now, but hopefully by the time this airs, it'll be up and running. So, yeah, you can find me there. There are some link trees in my bio where I have a GoFundMe, where you guys can sew into me and the babies, just our survival. Honestly, I'm not working. So anything that you do donate will go towards just our daily upkeep and expenses. I don't get any child support or any type of assistance financially from anyone. So literally this is a faith walk. Okay. So there are also, my link tree has my GoFundMe, and it's also going to have some other things that I'm working on. I have a book that I'm working on, and then I'm also opening my nonprofit. So there's so many things I have in the works. So just follow along for the journey. If this story did touch you, if you were inspired in any way, shape, form, or fashion, just hit that follow button and just follow along for the journey, because this is only the beginning.
Yeah. And don't worry, we're definitely connected. You're part of the Room to Breathe family now, sis. So we are always going to be connected. And so make sure you always share, anything new that's coming up. We'd love to have you back and, talk about the progress. Because like you said, this is the beginning. And so I, again, just thank you for being a beacon of light. This may sound silly to say, but thank you for surviving. Thank you for choosing to rise, and thank you for remaining, true to your faith, and just reminding us that obedience, even in pain, is so powerful. I appreciate you in so many ways. And again, your story blessed me. And I have no doubt that it's going to bless so many people in the community. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate you and all of the beautiful souls that are listening. And I'm just praying for everybody, honestly, because you never know. Like, I just never want people to think like that could never be me, because like you never know. And I'm just praying for all the souls out there who felt like it could never be me, and then it ended up being them. Like, you just never know what you're going to encounter in life. And so like I'm just praying for everybody.
Yeah. And that's what we need more of in this world. Less hate, more prayer. So know that our hearts and prayers are with you and your girls as well. And like I said, keep us posted. We're family now. I'm a firm believer that, we locked in, sis. Ain't no switching up now. Okay.
Locked in.
Yes. Thank you so much. If this episode blessed you, please share this with someone who needs hope. One woman who needs strength, or one survivor who just needs to know that she's not walking this road by herself. What we just witnessed wasn't just a story. It was a testimony, a reminder that even in the darkest valleys, God is still walking, still covering, and still redeeming. I want to honor I'Kea for her courage, her transparency, and her obedience. Healing out loud is not easy. Breaking cycles is not easy. Raising children in a different reality than the one that you survived is not easy. But today, she showed us what faith looks like in real time, what strength looks like when the world thinks that you should have folded, and what purpose looks like when pain thought it had the final say. And so if her story touched you, if it cracked something open in your spirit, please drop some green hearts in the comments. That is our way of saying I'm healing too, I'm growing too, and I'm choosing me. I will be sure to link her information in the description. So for anyone who feels called to, pour in, please do so. It does take a village, and we need I'Kea to understand that even though we may be millions of miles away or all across the world, that she still does have this village, because as she stated, this is her beginning. And we got her. Just like survival was not the end of I'Kea's story, survival was the beginning of her becoming. And so the same may be true for you. Whatever you've lived through, whatever tried to break you, whatever you thought would be your ending, God can still rewrite it into purpose. You can still reclaim your voice, your peace, your identity, and your joy. You can still give your inner child the love that she never received. And you can still raise children who get to see you healed and not hiding. So today, as we close out this sacred space, I just want you to remember that what the enemy sent to destroy you, God is using to develop you. And you don't have to walk that journey alone. Again, we're healing in community. This room, this family, we breathe together. So make sure you stay tapped in with us. Subscribe to the channel, follow us, and stay connected with the guests. So that way you never have to miss a moment of this healing out loud, right? Where we take room to breathe and grow and heal in community. Now, before we part ways, let me leave you all with just a little love and light. As always, I encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every moment in between. I want you to keep choosing peace, even when it feels out of reach. And know that here at the Self-Care Club, you will always be seen, always valued, and always supported. So don't be afraid to take up space, speak your truth, and make a little room for you to breathe. I love each and every one of you to life, and I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned, intentional, and yes, on purpose, filled with purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast. And I look forward to connecting with you all again soon. Thank you.